All right, we have about 12 attendees. We're just going to wait until the 9 o'clock hour and then we'll get started. Yamouna?
Yes?
Okay, just wanted to check.
It's a good system to have the questions by chatting so that I can see the questions written. For me, it's easier than understand them.
Great, perfect. Okay.
It is strange to see nobody.
Yeah, well, we have 12 people on right now. So we have
Mhm,
27 registered. So we'll see.
mhm.
All right, it's 9 o'clock. So let's go ahead and get started. 9 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Paris time. So thank you all for attending. We really appreciate your attending. This is the first of what will be monthly webinars or talks by leading experts from around the world who are doing work in the happiness and well-being movement. Yamouna David was one of the attendees at the United Nations and Bhutan conference as a high-level meeting, bringing together world leaders and tasking us with launching a global happiness and well-being movement, albeit doing that grassroots and left to our own resources to do that. And so this is one idea that we came up with together that that we could help to make something like this happen. If you are interested in presenting, please email me, laura@happycounts.org, and we'll set you up. We're very thankful to have Yamouna as our first presenter. Next month will be John Hall, who actually did create for all of the government of Australia their sustainability indicators. He then worked for UNDP and is now working at the United Nations in the Millennium Development Goal Department, and who is a very prominent leader in the well-being and happiness indicator work. In October, we'll have Professor Lester Kurtz will be giving a talk around the happiness movement and compassionate listening, nonviolent communication. And in November, Mary Judd, who works a lot with the government of Bhutan and is an expert in communications, which is absolutely key to this movement, will be giving the talk. These talks are on Thursdays. They're at 9, they're the third Thursdays of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And we'd like your feedback if that time works for you or not, or if we should have a better time. Again, you can send your information to laura@happycounts.org. All right. So during the talk, if you have questions or comments, please enter them in preferably chat. If you can't enter them in chat, then enter them in question. Yamouna will be giving her talk, and she'll also be giving some time for discussion. With the webinar, I can open you up so that you have access to being able to talk. If the sound quality is bad, then I will mute you again and ask you to make sure that you just send your question via the question box. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to mute myself and hand the presentation over to Yamouna. Yamouna, if you could tell a little bit about yourself, a little bit more about yourself, and what brought you to the work before you give this presentation, that would be wonderful. And thank you so very much for doing our first webinar. Go ahead,
Thank
Yamouna.
you. Okay, thank you very much, Laura, for organizing this, and I'm looking forward for the other presentations next month. As for myself, I'm of Indian, of French. I was born in India, grew up in India, and learned Indian Bharatanatyam sacred dance in India, and decided not to become a dancer but a lawyer. I studied in England and then in France in Sorbonne and became an advocate for 20 years in Paris, Bar Association. And then I wanted to devote myself to the sorry for my English, to training of advocates. So I'm now the director of the permanent training of advocates for the center in south of France. Of course, I go often to India because my parents still live there. And I have been asked a few years back to go to Cherupse College to Bhutan to give a talk on a comparative study about law of immigration in France and law of immigration in Bhutan. And you may know that that is a sensitive question in Bhutan and in France as well. And they wanted the point of view of lawyers on this. So I went to give a talk on that, got to know about the G&H concept, found that very interesting, and I proposed to the law school of which I'm a director, which is in south of France, to create a non-profit organization that would be uh, led by this law school on the question of happiness and social and societal progress. So that's how the whole story started. We have created this International Happiness Observatory in May 2010. We held the first seminar in December 2010 on law and happiness to see what sort of links could be between law and happiness. And I will just first present you, I put some English documents ready for you, and I will send them on, as Laura suggested, on our, I forgot the name, but the web system where we can share the documents, and you can have and go through them quietly. So a quick presentation of the International Happiness Observatory. It is on this document, which we can read later. The idea was to put lawyers to work, because most of the time, in recent world, economists have taken up the lead of everything, and economy is considered as the most um, important thing to think about, and lawyers have been considered as some sort of technicians who are only requested to come and to make law after economists would have defined the new world. And we believe that it is important that lawyers also step in and bring their own experience to what we can call the creation of the new world. Like when UN sets up the MDGs, it's thought about what the new world should be, and in that sense, we have created this International Happiness Observatory, and it is an open association. Anyone can join. We have some members from the United States, from Australia, and from other countries. Any one of you who wants to be member, you can be member. It's only 10 euros as a membership, because we wanted the money not to be a bar for becoming a member. Our scientific committee is made out of lawyers. A former High Court judge of India, Mr. Abdullah Sise, you have the names on the document. So we try to have a very wide experts coming from all over the world to be our members of our scientific committee. And this is a document that we made last year, but it's a bit obsolete. But it's just to present who is the member of this, who are the members of the scientific committee, and what were the objectives at that time 1 year back. And after this, just to give how the things grew up so quickly, we were really amazed and surprised by the growth of all these projects, is that just last year we have been asked to participate at the World Bank's works on Global Forum on Law, Justice and Development, and we have been asked to contribute to the World Bank's works of the legal department of the World Bank. And then we participate to the United Nations work. And I will go to another question now that many people ask us is why lawyers? It seems surprising to people that lawyers get so much interested in happiness. So I will open the other document, which is our contribution to the UN, to the 2nd of April works meeting. And we have tried to explain why lawyers. So we say that via our profession and social and environmental responsibility, we can really understand and question the impact of law on people and environment, because in each of the aspects of law is there everywhere, even consider human beings before birth, after death, during the life, and same for companies before their birth, during their life, and after their death, and for relationship between nations, international relationships, law is there. And we were, for example, asked by a question by the Academy, the Society of an Academy for Diplomacy, who said that there is less and less law in wars, for example. So to say that we are linked with all aspects of life, and then of course we are trained to use methodology and try to be always very objective in the way we analyze facts and propose solutions. And as advocates, we have an independence which is the basic of our deontology. So this is what we can bring as lawyers, and we decided that the Happiness Observatory should be a hub. So I think you can all read my screen, so I'm not going to read what is in front of you. And then we went to the judicial challenges of the MDGs. And there is one thing that is very important for us in Europe, but I think it is not very much used in United States. That's what I got to understand, is the norm ISO 26000-2630. And it's a norm that can be used, I think, and maybe that's something we can think about in our common works with this group, is this norm does not specifically talk about social and environmental responsibility of lawyers. It talks only about social and environmental responsibility of companies normally. But there is now a movement in France to see how we can decline it in each different part of the social activities. So lawyers in France have started to think how we can have the social and environmental responsibility of lawyers according to the rules of this norm ISO 26000. So one of the ideas I would like to talk about with you all is whether we could have the same thing for social and environmental responsibility of, for example, doctors, of any profession, could be considered journalists, and through this norm, ISO 26000 norm, and the notions of social and environmental responsibility that you find in this norm, with a holistic approach, we could all bring out the works for happiness and well-being through this norm. And each of our profession could bring something new, and we could build maybe some good work together through this. So that's one idea I'm just sending you. And then, so this was our contribution for UN. And one of the main works on which we want to work is the work development. That's why our meeting in September 14th and 15th meeting is, the title is Development, Sustainable Happiness and Development. And as lawyers, we like to take each word and analyze the word, and that's why we say that. And when there is a word, we always look for the polarity of the word, so that everything should always be balanced. If it is not balanced, then something wrong comes out. I'm more at ease to explain this in French, but I'm trying to get it in English. So normally the development, if you take the historical story of the word development, comes as the transition of a plant. So development implies destruction, and our sort of we look after growth, economical growth. So this implies a faster and faster obsolescence of material creations, and that is why I think the word sustainable is always put next to development. And we thought that the real polarity of development could be envelopment, and that is why we think that law should be the envelopment of the development, so that we make sure that the social ties have the time to adapt to the changes. Because if changes go too quickly, the social ties cannot adapt, and then we have again some disruption, and then unhappiness comes out. So from this, we also think that the word equity is a very important word, and it is an important one in law. And we found interesting that when defining the GNH in the 4 pillars, the Center for Bhutan Studies has said equitable and sustainable socio-economic development. Most of the time we find in Western countries the word of sustainable development or sustainable economic development. The fact of having put socio before economic sounds good to us, and equitable in the as a first word also seems very important, because you can have a sustainable socio-economic development, but it can be non-equitable, and law is there to guarantee equity. And the fact that Bhutan has taken that word seems very meaningful for us. So that's why we have tried to identify what sort of contributions we could bring, and identified some suggested practical actions. Of course, at the time being, as we are a very new non-profit organization, we do not have the finances to start up all these projects, but it could be suggested practical actions that could come up at some step if we get other people to come, and other institutions that would be interested and that could step in and give us also better ideas for these suggestions. And that's of course create some sort of international expert body for law and happiness, and this expert body should not be only from lawyers and should not be made only from lawyers from the West. We think it, for example, I was just explaining in France that there are just as many tribals in India than there are French citizens in the world. So and all these tribals, they live from completely different cultural and social and economical point of views. So never forget that there are other members of the society in the world that do not work at all like us. So that's what we are very careful about. And then set up a model program for legislation. So this also is one of the works that lawyers could do, and we are going to propose that to the World Bank in the Global Forum for Law, Justice and Development. We are now member of the Rule of Law and the Legal Reform Group in the World Bank, and maybe that will be interesting for the World Bank, and we could have the backup to try and set up something through them. These are just ideas for the time being. And cooperation and dissemination. So this is exactly what we are doing in this group, cooperation and dissemination. And we like the idea of the Johnny Jump Up method of cooperation. because this is a plant like strawberry, and most of the time when somebody has a good idea in one country, we want to just cut and paste and try to reproduce the same thing in another place, and sometimes the soil is not good and it cannot grow up the same way. So that's why cooperation should always take into account the local soil. And the Jolly Jump Up has got three methods of reproduction: classical pollination, stems, or producing capsules of seeds via self-pollination. And most of the time when you are in work like we are doing together, like which is producing of knowledge, when you produce knowledge, this is some sort of self-pollination. And also we are sending uh, pollination from other places, like the idea of creating this observatory came from the idea of the GNH from Bhutan. And then we invited last year, for example, Viviane Labrie from Quebec. She's coming back this year in south of France for our seminar. And they have created in Quebec the notion of, instead of gross national product, they have created the soft national product. And she came and presented the soft national product in south of France, which gave ideas to many people here. And when she went back to Quebec, she came back with the idea of happiness, and she told us that her works have changed a lot from what she got to learn from our last year seminar. So to make our creation of knowledge sustainable, we have decided to invite her again this year so that she tells us what came up in Quebec from what she learned in France and how it grew up there, and she can bring back this as fruits that we could bring back, and then again she would take back seeds and give us seeds. So this is what we call the image of self of Johnny Jumper method, because we think that the old way of the Western world bringing knowledge to Eastern or Southern countries and trying to cut and paste solutions is obsolete, and we should really be in a more living and really equally cooperative way of dissemination. So this is so as some illustrations of fields of actions, we believe a lot in UN because it's our common body, and there are many critics about the functioning of UN. So if we believe in UN, we have to bring up what we think could help UN to work better and more effectively. And this is one of the topics we are going to go through during our next seminar and make some very practical propositions. And we believe also there must be better mutual understanding between lawmakers and the people, because this, the more we go, the more our world is technocratic, and it does not lead to happiness. And lawmakers have also become technocrats, and this has to be reviewed. And also think about the effective and harmonious implementation of law. So this is, I would say, a lifetime program, but if we don't start somewhere, we never get anywhere. And I will tell you now what we did last year, the first International Happiness Seminar. Sorry, this is a bit small, and make it bigger, and it is in French. I don't have it in English, this one. So last year, our seminar was about the measures, the indicators, happiness and well-being indicators. And so we had message from India, lawyer's position, and then the Stiglitz Commission's work, and how what was the follow-up of the Stiglitz Commission in France, because many people know about the Stiglitz Commission's work, but then what has been done after that, what is the follow-up? So that was the presentation. And then we had Professor Ruth Vinoven, that many of you should know, who presented the World Database of Happiness. And Viviane Labrie told you about, talked about the soft domestic product. And Mr. Dorji Wangdi, Labour and Human Resources Minister of Bhutan, presented the GNH. And Pierre Leroy presented another way of measuring indicators of happiness. And then we decided to have one morning on one specific topic, coming back to law, and it was work, happiness, and law. And Claire Hart presented the works of the foundation Agir contre l'exclusion, which is all the ways of acting against all types of, I don't know if exclusion is a word in English, but maybe you understand what I mean. And we had a law teacher about what could labor law do now about happiness, and what could be the social responsibility of lawyers. You can see the photograph and see what is the place we had this meeting in Sete, in the south of France. There is this very big place which is like an agora, like a Greek agora, open air, open on the sea. And this is important so that we always remind to have our minds open and never be closed somewhere. And we had a concert. So that was last year's International Happiness Seminar. And this year's seminar is a bit different because we learned from the last year's experience. And since last year we had this meeting in New York, and we decided that as we are all over the world and there is so much work to do, that as we said, 100 flowers to bloom, but if all these could be like rivers that go and bring some common knowledge that can be useful, it would be interesting. So we decided to maybe take each year one of the MDGs to start with, and we started with development, and see how we can make works that could be used after that by our group, and by Bhutan, and by UN, and by anyone who wants to do something out of it, but some work that could be useful for our common work. So that's why the first morning is roadmaps for global happiness. And Patrick Viveret is a philosopher and is a former judge, and he will talk about economy, solidarity, and sharing. And then we really want to go as to how our international organizations, whether they are non-profit organizations like many of you are running, or official organizations, how can they be a catalyst of global well-being? Then, so Alisa will present, talk about what she's doing, but also her views of the works of UN. And then Bénédicte Bury will present we say OCDE in French, I think you say OECD in English, because this institution has worked a lot on the measures of happiness, indicators of happiness. And Anjani, that many of you should know, will present the Cross-National Happiness World Project. But what I liked in what Anjani told us when I met her in New York was the idea of creating this GNH as a world project, and also of create the word of sustainable happiness. I heard that for the first time in Anthony's mouth. And the notion of having a sort of happiness footprint for the countries, for example, and all these ideas could be interesting to know about. By the way, if any one of you would like to come and present something for next year's meeting, you are most welcome. And you can send us a description of what you are doing and what you could bring about. And then the works will be shifting towards a global governance. What about UN? And then we shall see what are the practical propositions we could have to make UN become more effective from lawyers' point of view again. But this is not restricted to lawyers. Many non-lawyers are attending this seminar, and people from different parts of the world are attending as well. In the afternoon, we shall go more on development, sustainable development, so a more economical part, which could be used for Bhutan's work on new economic paradigm. And we shall have a psychotherapist who will give his point of view on growth, obsolescence, and happiness, about what I said before about the polarity of development, that is envelopment, and that development brings a sort of chaos if you don't have a polarity to it. So all this will be looked into by Mr. Foucault. Then Kishore Upreti, who is a Nepalese advocate and working in the World Bank department, will tell us about how lawyers help in the projects, international projects, and how they can make sure that there is some sort of security for the projects, on both sides. And Thierry Salomon is somebody who's an energy engineer, and he has presented a work on the transition, energetical transition, how it can be made in France for it. And this has been sent when we had the elections of our new president. He has sent it to all the political parties, and it is a very interesting word, and he wants to link it with happiness and well-being. So we would have his work can be used by our group. All our works are aimed to be shared without hindrance. So all this we shall register all the works, and you will have it on free access on our website. So he will bring up the energy engineer point of view. And then we want to talk about participatory democracy. And we want to, each morning we have some advocates trainees, because the next generation should take up all these questions. They are the ones who are going to achieve this. So they are the ones who are going to make presentations as well during this seminar. And they want to present how, according to them, participatory democracy in France does not work right now. And it works only through NGOs in France. We are talking about France now. And through NGO, we have some way of participatory democracy coming up in France, but not through the official institutions. So they are going to make some preconizations so that we can make this become better. Each morning and afternoon, we shall have 1 hour completely, not for a classical debate, but for participatory debate. And for 1 hour each time, all the public will be asked to get together in groups of 8 or 10 maximum, and present themselves between themselves, and decide of a question for each group, and then write down the question, and we shall put it in a big box, and we shall take 4 or 5 questions, and we shall answer to the 4 or 5 questions. But all the non-answered questions will be posted on our website, and then it can be a discussion and a forum on the non-answered questions. same thing will happen morning and afternoon. And we shall have a documentary film and this which is on the indicators of happiness and well-being. Then this Saturday morning, we go on social peace and sustainable happiness, more on criminal law and individuals first. What do we do with our prisoners? How we could have a link between happiness and well-being and uh, prisons, because we never want to be on happiness and well-being as a sort of very only theoretical approach. It will always be very practical. So we took something very difficult. Prisons and happiness is not an easy thing, but we decided to go through it and have some presentators on this question. And then criminal law, nation, and social peace. And they will go through the, we say justice restauratrice in French. I know there's another word in English, sorry, I forgot it, but it's something about conciliation through justice at an international level. So François Roux has worked in Cambodia he has been an advocate in Cambodia for the International Penal Court, and we shall go through this the Saturday afternoon. The 3 mornings will be in a place in Sete, and the big debate will happen in the open space Agora, open to the Mediterranean Sea. And this big debate will be in a participative way. So Viviane Labrie will come back, tell us about what, as I told you, what happened in Quebec since last year she came in France, to see how our works can be sustainable. And then all the participants will be in workshops, and they will have to answer 2 questions, and then we shall get together and make a presentation of all these works. And then public report and closing of the conference, and of course always, to be happy, there will be little parts of music and who wants to dance or whatever. So that's what's going to happen. Any one of you who wants to attend, you're most welcome. The fees for attending is only 20 euros, so that anyone can come easily. Of course, I know most of you are very far away. Then I wanted to say quickly, because I want to let you time for questions, being part of a hub, parts of other hubs, because each of us is a hub. This is my 5th document. I won't go through. I will post it, and you can go through. It is the document we made after coming back from New York to present our 2 years' works. So you will have everything about. You can see the Agora place open here. So this, I'm not going to present it now. It will take too much time, and you can go through it yourself. What next in France? For the International Happiness Day on 20th of March, we shall definitely do something. Most probably we shall do something with Indian lawyers and French lawyers, but it will be open to anyone who wants to come. And it will be a seminar. We have not fixed the theme yet. Either we shall go on the new economical paradigm, or we shall take some other topic. We shall let you know as soon as we decide. And October, November, there are many other French organizations who want to get together and make a common feature, and they have decided it should be towards a new global social contract. So probably next year we shall not organize our own seminar, because we believe we should not be in competition between all of us. When somebody is doing something somewhere, better to get together and do something together, rather to try to say I'm doing something on my own and you're doing something and mine is better. So probably as they are organizing something I've written 2012, but it is 2013, then we shall probably join them. I finished my presentation. Hope it has been clear. Now, do ask any question you want, and I'll try to answer. We have 20 minutes left. Laura, what do you think?
Thank you, Yamuna. That was, sorry. Thank you, Yamuna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. Could you please reiterate when the conference is, where it is, so people know, and where
Yes.
they can find
So it
information
is.
about it?
It is on 14th and 15th of September next month. It is in Sete, which is a little town which you can see on the photographs in the south of France. To get to Sete, you have to go to Montpellier. I write Montpellier on the chatting space, uh, which is a near airport. And anyone who wants to come, they can register on the website, which is on the document which is here. And we have organized simultaneous translation in English, and if another language is asked, we can try and organize it. But in English, definitely it will be there, so you can follow everything in English. What else should I say?
Okay, thank you. And Yamuna, I'm going to send your email on chat so that people have that so they can ask other questions. Is that okay?
Yes, fine.
Okay, so everybody has Yamuna's email right now. So Yamuna, I have some questions, and people, if you do have questions, please put them on chat or raise your hand, or put them in your question piece. But my question is more general. We heard much about the report that was being done by Stiglitz and Amanitri Sen, and I would really like to know. I've heard some reports that has really gone nowhere now with Sarkozy being voted out. Could you tell us what's happening with the French government with regards to happiness indicators in France?
Well, not much happened. In fact, we were quite disappointed because they have launched this report, which is very interesting, and the use they have made of this report as to happiness and well-being was very little. They they used very little the word happiness when they made the public report, when the government made the public report of the committee. They went immediately on the economical part of it, which is already, I would say, starting. They 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 have started implementing the the commission's report on in some fields, but they have, for the time being, they have forgotten the word happiness and well-being. Am I clear? It is
Yes.
like they have. It is as if they have asked for something very big, and they have taken the more easily politically presentable part of it. But I think that the new government, which has come, may be more prone to go to the words happiness and well-being. But it is not that priority. I think we have to wait for 1 year to see what they do out of it.
Okay, so I have a
But
question.
I will, sorry, just to finish, all the works of last year we are posted on our website.
Okay.
So if you want to listen to what Mrs. Plateau from the INSEE said about the follow-up, because there are some answers to your questions, you can find it there.
Okay, thank you.
It is in French. I'm sorry.
Okay. Um, so I have a question. And I'll tell you a little bit about where I am right now.
Mhm.
I'm in Cali, Colombia. Yesterday, the mayor and his ombudsman, and Cali is about 10 million people. It's the third largest city in Colombia. They signed a happiness proclamation saying that they are going to look into happiness indicators.
Mhm.
Today, I'll be working with the director of the planning department to implement that.
Yeah.
The question that they have is how do we present this within the government? What are the right words to say around using happiness metrics for the government? So my question to you is that you mentioned that Stieglitz and Sen used the easily political presentable language. What is that language, and how does it counter the effort for this global happiness movement? And what do you see as the way that we can work with governments so that they can do this work? Is that a clear
I think
question?
it is not only a clear question, it's a very clever and interesting question, because I think you've pointed out something that could be useful, that we could do together, all of us, because in fact uh, there is a wish of the civil society for something new. So the governments want to do something, but they don't know how to do it, because they are prisoners of the old ways of thinking, old ways of communicating. And I think I don't have the answer to your question, but I think there is a real work that we could do, and a very interesting word is to put in usable words for the governments our works, make our works in a way that is not losing the meaning, because for the time being they are trying to implement it, but in the process, according to me, they are losing part of the meaning. So there is a work with proper competent persons in communication and in implementation that could be done. Maybe we could try and suggest a little group that could work on that with people who are following up the Stiglitz Commission's work.
So could you tell us what is the language that Stieglitz and Sen used that was counter to the happiness movement?
No, the Stiglitz Commission did not use any word that was counter to our
Okay.
movement. Their work is very good and very interesting for us. It's what the French government did from this work for trying to implement it. This is the step when they lost it.
Okay. And what?
The Commission's work is good. So what is important is that we work with people who have done this work of implementation, meet them, because in France we have this experience of having a commission, having works, having a report, and trying to implement it. So this is a very good laboratory to see where there has been a gap.
So I'm sorry to keep pushing you, but what is it that the French government then did after the report that wasn't so good? I think we'd like to know, just so that we can learn from that.
Well, they did nothing as to really going through how could I say that? They what is good, what they did as good is that they now try to go through other ways to new indicators. That's the good thing. They are looking for new indicators. But when they look for new indicators, they look for new indicators with old glasses.
Okay.
Like, is it more clear?
Yes. Yes.
So we could provide new glasses.
Okay. So are they, I'm just going to push you a little bit more, and then Susan, I think you have a
Mm-hmm.
question. Are the indicators that they're looking at, are they examples of them, or would be the European Social Survey or the World Values Index, I mean, or the OECD's Better Life Index? Are those the indicators that they've been looking at?
Yes, they are looking at that, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So they're on the right path, but they have many breaks out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Susan, I see that you have your hand up, so I'm going to unmute you. And if you have a question, go ahead. And Susan, can you hear? Can you speak and see if we can hear you?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, so we are representatives of the OECD effort, and I heard Yamouna mentioning the kind of what's going on in New Delhi coming up, and I just wanted her to speak a little bit more about what she thinks the possibilities for linking and networking with the OECD's efforts. Thank you.
I think the OECD's work are very, very interesting and important. The only thing is that up to now, we did not have enough time to get in touch with the proper people in OECD, and we would love to work together.
Okay.
We just lacked of time and opportunities of getting in touch with the right persons.
Susan, did you have any feedback on that?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely an entryway. We come in through the measurement standpoint and the importance of community level indicators. And we are also part of the global research effort internationally, which is related to the OECD. But we have official standing with the OECD and their global project. So would love to kind of build that network and possibility. Thank you.
Great. So as follow-up, perhaps, Susan, particularly since, and I don't mean to be self-promoting, but since we're actually working with cities with specifically happiness metrics, perhaps the three of us could have a telephone call or a Skype call.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Susan. And if Yamouna, you might remember Susan, she was the first person that you saw the first day when you walked in greeting people. So.
All right. Okay.
All right, I'm going to mute you again, Susan. Thank you so much. And so I see that Doug, it looks like you have a question. I'm going to unmute you. Doug Leon. Doug, can you go ahead and speak so we can see if we can hear you? Can you hear us, Doug?
Yeah, this is Doug. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't have a question. I must have hit that by mistake.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. I've enjoyed this.
Okay, great. All right. So then the next person is Natalia. So I'm going to unmute you. Natalia, can you speak so we can see if we can hear you?
I don't have questions. This one.
Okay.
I don't have questions. But
okay. Thank you. I'm going to mute you now. All right. So if anybody else has anything, you can raise your hand or you can chat in. All right. I have a couple other questions, Yamouna. Would you please explain the Johnny Jump Up method? I'm not familiar with that term.
It's a term that we have invented. It's not invented, in fact. It's a plant. Do you know the plant, Jolly Jump Up?
Yeah, it shoots seeds everywhere.
No, it's not that one. It doesn't really shoot. But do you see that plant with violet flowers?
Okay.
And if you see the plant, you will understand better. And do you know what are the stems they are having?
No, I'm not familiar. So if you could explain to us what this is.
Do you see strawberries? Strawberries?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen strawberries growing?
Yes.
With stems going from one place and creating a new strawberry plant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, in fact, we are it comes from the fact that being of Indian or French, very often I see how things, if you take it out of their cultural context, lose most of the meaning. And when we have, like we are having now together, international cooperation, global cooperation, and dissemination of ideas, something that is good somewhere may be good somewhere else, or may not be good somewhere else, or may be good if it is adapted. And there has been in the last century, the way of cooperation was North and Western countries bringing some sort of knowledge to Eastern countries or Southern countries, and cooperation was considered as a sort of transfer of knowledge or technologies or whatever. And in the more equal and sharing world we want to build, we think that each one can have something to bring to the other in the form of a seed, the ideas being like a seed, and the seed will grow only if the soil is there and if there is water, the soil is proper, and there is water, and if the seed is good. So this is one way of sharing and cooperate and having a cooperation of ideas without having the risk of what I call cut and paste and not be adapted to the surrounding social environment, for example, or economical environment. And that's only the dissemination of seeds. But the Jolly Jumper, this plant, has got another specific thing that strawberries have as well, is what we call the stems. And the stems, we like this idea because it means the seed, when it has gone, there is no more real link between the plant that created the seed and the new plant. Only the origin is there. But the stem is a sort of link, like we have now a link with internet. We keep a link between us in this post 2nd of April group. And these are the stems, and each of us, we have a plant that we are growing up, but these plants keep a link between themselves, which are the stems. If we cut the stem, the plant can still live by its own, but the fact that we have this stem is a sort of link we keep together. And this plant having these 3 ways of dissemination, we found it interesting to be the symbol of the new way of cooperation and dissemination of knowledge and ideas on happiness and well-being. That's why we took the image of Johnny Jumper.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it sounds good.
Yeah. So we have a question from Judith Lipton, who's doing research in Costa Rica. She's working with Oxford University. She's actually using the Happiness Initiative survey to do focus groups on why are people so happy in Costa Rica with such few resources. Her question is, what do you use in French? What word do you use in French for happiness? And do you make a distinction between subjective well-being as a life evaluation and happiness as a mood or affect? And do you find this to be a problem as you work cross-culturally?
First answer is easy. Happiness is bonheur in French. That is why our institution is called OIB, for International Observatoire International du Bonheur. So that's the first answer. Second one is between a subjective happiness and.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put the question in chat so that everybody can see this.
Okay.
So, do you make a distinction between subjective well-being as a life evaluation and happiness as a mood or affect?
Yes.
Okay.
And what we decided is that we are not going in our institution to go through moods or affects, because that's very personal. And of course, the limits between personal and social happiness is not is a limit that can be crossed. But we decided that everything that concerns personal happiness and subjective happiness, we are not going to go through it because it's each one's responsibility, and we only go through the first one. So we do make this difference, and we do not work at all on moods or affects.
Okay, thank you. So if you could answer, I'm going to ask you to answer in 2 minutes, do this last question, and then we'll wrap up. And I apologize for other people who had other questions. Are psychiatrists or people who study mental illness involved in your happiness project? And the question is,
yes.
How will happiness projects and mental health projects cooperate?
We shall see how they cooperate, because many doctors have joined our institution, and one of the speakers is a psychoanalyst. He's not a psychiatrist, but he's a psychoanalyst, and he has got a lot of things to tell us. We don't know yet what he's going to tell us exactly, but we think that there is a lot of cooperation possible between these two, but again, not go through the moods or affects, but through the, how the society reacts to psychiatric illness and problems, and how it is involved in them. That's the way we are going to go through it.
Thank you. So thank you so much, Yamouna, for this. To all of you who attended, would really like your feedback. You can send that to laura@happycounts.org. And the best feedback that I get for me is what worked, what didn't work, and what you'd like to see stay the same or change, just very simply stated, so that we can improve for future webinars. Please let people know about these webinars. We have capacity for up to 100 people. Today we had 17, which I think is a great start. Thank you so much for attending. Yamouna will be putting the materials on Basecamp. Basecamp is sort of a glorified Facebook and Google Docs share. If you'd like to have access to the materials, please ask via email myself or Yamouna. We can easily invite you onto Basecamp. If you would like to be presenting at one of these webinars because of the work that you're doing, please let me know, Laura at Happy Counts. And forgive me, I'm going to do a little self-promotion. I'll be teaching a class next Friday and Thursday and Friday that will go into happiness indicators. It will go do a survey of what's happening globally, what's happening locally, and it will talk a bit about the Happiness Initiative work and how you can do that work. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I'm full, but would like to teach other classes in Yamouna. Maybe we can learn about this and how we could do something like this together. So again, want to really express gratitude, Yamouna, for doing this. It was really interesting. Let's see, we all have a lot to learn. I'm sure I'm really interested in learning more. Thank you so much to all the people who attended. Please do give your feedback. And right now, I'm going to make. You're going to see how horrible this is in about 2 seconds, but in about 1 second, it'll be really nice. I'm going to make everybody so they can talk, and let's all just say thank you and goodbye to each other and to ourselves. So I'm unmuting all of you. Just a second. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see. Try to unmute all of you. How do I do it? Unmute, unmute, unmute.
Just thank you to all the people.
So we are all being unmuted.
Thank you, Yamouna. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Laura. Thank
Bonsoir.
you. Thank you, Laura and Yamouna.
Bonsoir. Bienvenue en France. D'où come over.
Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir.
Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.